In the realm of cable news, careers can vanish faster than Thanos' snap in the Avengers. Today, we're diving into the saga of CNN's revolving door, where anchors and hosts have been shown the exit with alarming frequency. It's a tale of controversy, shifting network priorities, and the high-stakes game of broadcast journalism. From Chris Cuomo's family loyalty conundrum to Don Lemon's outspoken commentary, Brian Stelter's media watchdog role to Jeffrey Toobin's Zoom debacle, we'll explore the scandals and missteps that led to these high-profile departures. But it doesn't stop there. We'll also delve into the cases of Marc Lamont Hill's geopolitical comments, Rick Sanchez's radio interview gone wrong, and John Harwood's clash with changing network direction. These stories aren't just about individual careers. They're a window into the evolving landscape of news media. We'll examine how social media, political polarization, and the blurring lines between news and opinion have reshaped the industry. We'll also look at how CNN's changing ownership and strategic shifts have influenced these departures. By the end of this video, you'll see why in the cutthroat world of 24/7's news, it seems no one is safe from the dreaded pink slip. Whether you're a cable news fiend or simply curious about the inner workings of major networks, this deep dive into CNN's recent history will give you plenty to think about. So get ready for a journey through the tumultuous world of cable news, where the only constant seems to be change itself. Chris Cuomo.
CNN anchor Chris Cuomo has been fired. The network says that it terminated Cuomo after a review by a law firm. And a former female colleague has now come forward accusing Chris Cuomo of sexual misconduct. He denies any wrongdoing.
Chris Cuomo's departure from CNN in December 2021 marked one of the network's most high-profile and controversial exits in recent years. Cuomo, who had been with CNN since 2013, quickly rose to become one of its most recognizable faces, hosting the primetime show Cuomo Primetime. His confrontational interview style, sharp wit, and family connection to New York politics through his brother, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, helped cultivate a significant and loyal following among viewers. Cuomo's journalistic approach often blurred the lines between news and opinion, a style that resonated with many, but also drew criticism from those who preferred more traditional, impartial reporting. His familial ties to a prominent political figure added a unique dynamic to his coverage, particularly when it came to New York-related stories. However, this same family connection ultimately led to his downfall. In 2021, as Andrew Cuomo faced multiple allegations of sexual harassment, it emerged that Chris had been secretly advising his brother on how to respond to the accusations. This clear conflict of interest for a journalist initially led to Chris Cuomo's suspension in November 2021, after documents released by the New York Attorney General's office revealed the extent of his involvement in his brother's defense strategy. The revelations shocked many in the journalism community and raised serious questions about the ethical boundaries for news anchors. CNN, facing mounting pressure, retained an outside law firm to investigate the matter further. The investigation uncovered more damaging information about Cuomo's actions, leading to a swift decision by the network. On December 4, 2021, CNN announced Cuomo's termination, citing additional information that had come to light during the review and a breach of journalistic ethics and standards. The network, which had initially stood by Cuomo when the allegations first surfaced, now found his position untenable. Cuomo's firing sparked broader discussions about journalistic integrity and the challenges of navigating personal relationships in the news business. It raised questions about the responsibility of news anchors to maintain impartiality and transparency, especially when their personal lives intersect with the stories they cover. Don Lemon.
I want to share with you some important news right here at our own network. Oliver, what do you know?
Some shocking news again, John, in the world of cable news. Don Lemon and CNN have parted ways. This is according to a memo that was sent out to CNN employees.
Don Lemon's 17-year tenure at CNN came to an abrupt and controversial end in April 2023, following a series of contentious incidents and amid shifting priorities at the network. Lemon, who joined CNN in 2006, had steadily risen through the ranks to become one of the network's most prominent and outspoken personalities, eventually hosting CNN Tonight in prime time. Throughout his career at CNN, Lamont became known for his candid and often polarizing commentary, particularly on issues of race, politics, and social justice. His willingness to speak frankly about controversial topics earned him a dedicated following among viewers who appreciated his direct approach. However, it also made him a lightning rod for criticism, especially from conservative circles. Lemon's style evolved over the years from a more traditional news anchor to an opinionated commentator. This shift mirrored broader changes in cable news, where the lines between straight news reporting and editorial content became increasingly blurred. Lemon's transformation into a voice of liberal opposition during the Trump administration further cemented his status as a controversial figure in the media landscape. However, Lemon faced backlash for several on-air comments over the years, which ultimately contributed to his downfall. One of the most notable incidents occurred in February 2023, when he made remarks about Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley not being in her prime, which were widely criticized as sexist and ageist. The comment sparked outrage from viewers and fellow journalists alike, forcing Lemon to issue an apology and temporarily step away from his hosting duties. This incident, coupled with CNN's move towards a more centrist approach under new leadership, likely contributed to his departure. The network, under the guidance of CEO Chris Licht, had been actively trying to shed its reputation for liberal bias and appeal to a broader audience. Lemon's outspoken progressive views and history of controversial statements increasingly seemed at odds with this new direction. On April 24, 2023, Lemon announced via Twitter that he had been fired from CNN, catching many by surprise. The network confirmed his departure, thanking him for his contributions over 17 years, but offering little explanation for the sudden decision. The abrupt nature of Lemon's exit, with no opportunity for an on-air farewell, sparked speculation about the circumstances surrounding his firing. Brian Stelter.
One of the biggest media stories of the week is right here. It's the end of this show. CNN has canceled Reliable Sources. Yes, the longest-running program on the network.
Brian Stelter's departure from CNN in August 2022 marked the end of an era for media criticism on the network and signaled a significant shift in CNN's approach to journalism and commentary. Stelter, who joined CNN in 2013 after a notable stint at the New York Times, had taken over as host of Reliable Sources, the network's longest-running show and a staple of media analysis for 3 decades. During his tenure at CNN, Stelter quickly established himself as one of the leading media critics in the industry. He became known for his incisive coverage of the media landscape, with a particular focus on the intersection of media and politics. Stelter's work often centered on holding news organizations accountable, analyzing trends in journalism, and exploring the impact of media on society. Stelter's role at CNN expanded beyond just hosting Reliable Sources. He served as the network's chief media correspondent, regularly appearing across various CNN programs to provide insight on media-related stories. His daily newsletter, also titled Reliable Sources, became a must-read for many in the media industry, offering a comprehensive roundup of the day's media news and analysis. One of the defining aspects of Stelter's time at CNN was his critical coverage of right-wing media and then-President Donald Trump. Stelter was one of the most vocal critics of Fox News and other conservative media outlets, often accusing them of spreading misinformation and acting as propaganda arms for the Trump administration. This made him a polarizing figure, admired by many for his willingness to challenge powerful media entities, but criticized by others who saw his work as partisan. However, following CNN's acquisition by Warner Bros. Discovery in 2022, the network's new leadership, headed by CEO Chris Licht, aimed to steer CNN away from opinion programming and towards more neutral coverage. This shift in strategy put Stelter's role at the network in jeopardy, as his work often blended reporting with commentary and criticism. On August 18, 2022, CNN announced the cancellation of Reliable Sources and Stelter's departure from the network. The move came as a shock to many in the media industry, given the show's long history and Stelter's prominence. The cancellation was part of broader cost-cutting measures and editorial shifts at CNN, but it also represented a symbolic break with the network's recent past. In his final broadcast, Stelter defended the importance of media criticism, stating, "It's not partisan to stand up for decency and democracy and dialogue." He emphasized the crucial role of a free press in maintaining a healthy democracy and warned about the dangers of media illiteracy and misinformation. The cancellation of reliable sources raised significant questions about the future of media criticism on television. It sparked debates about whether major news networks were abdicating their responsibility to hold other media organizations accountable. Stelter's exit was seen by many as a clear signal of CNN's changing priorities under its new ownership, moving away from media analysis and towards more traditional news coverage. Jeffrey Toobin.
According to press reports, at some point, Toobin engages in an intimate act of self-gratification, seemingly unaware that a Zoom camera is on. For his part, Toobin calls the incident an embarrassing and stupid mistake.
Legal analyst Jeffrey Toobin's departure from CNN was one of the more unusual and controversial cases in the network's recent history, involving a scandalous incident, a temporary absence, and ultimately a permanent exit. Toobin, who had been a prominent figure at CNN since 2002, was known for his sharp legal analysis and political commentary, often providing insights on high-profile court cases and political investigations. Toobin's career at CNN had been distinguished and influential. As the network's chief legal analyst, he was a regular presence on air, offering expert commentary on legal issues ranging from Supreme Court decisions to presidential impeachments. His analysis was respected for its depth and clarity, making complex legal matters accessible to a general audience. Toobin was also a prolific author, having written several books on legal and political topics, further cementing his reputation as a leading voice in legal journalism. However, Toobin's career took a dramatic and unexpected turn in October 2020. During a Zoom video call with colleagues from The New Yorker and WNYC Radio, Toobin was seen exposing himself and engaging in inappropriate behavior. The incident, which occurred during what was supposed to be an election simulation, quickly became public knowledge and sparked widespread controversy and discussion. The immediate fallout was swift. The New Yorker, where Toobin had worked as a staff writer for nearly 3 decades, suspended him pending an investigation. Shortly after, the magazine announced his termination. CNN, on the other hand, granted Toobin a leave of absence to deal with what he called a morally indefensible personal matter. The incident raised numerous questions about workplace conduct in the age of remote work, the boundaries between personal and professional life, and the consequences of public figures' private actions. It also sparked debates about accountability, forgiveness, and second chances in high-profile careers. In a surprising move that generated further controversy, CNN allowed Toobin to return to the air in June 2021, 8 months after the incident. His return was marked by an uncomfortable on-air interview with CNN anchor Alison Camerota, where Toobin apologized for his deeply moronic and indefensible actions. He expressed gratitude for the opportunity to return and pledged to rebuild trust with his colleagues and viewers. Toobin's reinstatement was met with mixed reactions. Some viewed it as a thoughtful decision, giving a longtime employee a second chance after a momentary, albeit serious, lapse in judgment. Others criticized CNN for what they saw as a premature return, arguing that it sent the wrong message about workplace conduct and consequences. However, Toobin's second stint at CNN was relatively short-lived. In August 2022, just over a year after his return, Toobin announced he was leaving the network. While the specific reasons for his final departure were not made public, it came amid broader changes at CNN under new leadership following the Warner Brothers Discovery merger. Toobin's case sparked significant debate about several issues: the nature of public shaming in the digital age, the possibility of redemption for public figures involved in scandals, and the responsibilities of employers in handling such sensitive situations. It also raised questions about the changing standards of conduct in professional settings, particularly as remote work blurred the lines between public and private spaces. The incident and its aftermath also coincided with CNN's shift towards more straightforward news coverage and away from personality-driven commentary. Toobin's departure, along with those of other prominent figures at the network, signaled a changing of the guard and a new direction for CNN under its new ownership. Marc Lamont Hill.
We have an opportunity to not just offer solidarity in words, but to commit to political action, grassroots action, local action, and international action that will give us what justice requires. And that is a free Palestine.
Marc Lamont Hill's firing from CNN in 2018 highlighted the sensitive nature of commenting on international conflicts, particularly the Israeli-Palestinian issue, and the potential consequences for media personalities who express controversial views on such topics. Hill, a professor of media studies and urban education at Temple University, had been a political commentator at CNN, known for his progressive views and insightful commentary on race relations, politics, and social issues. Hill had built a reputation as an articulate and passionate advocate for social justice causes, often providing a perspective that highlighted the experiences of marginalized communities. His commentary on CNN frequently addressed issues of systemic racism, police brutality, and economic inequality, making him a respected voice in discussions about race in America. However, Hill's tenure at CNN came to an abrupt end following a speech he gave at the United Nations for the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian people in November 2018. In this speech, Hill used the phrase, "Free Palestine from the river to the sea," a slogan associated with Palestinian activists but controversial due to its interpretation by some as a call for the elimination of Israel. The phrase, "from the river to the sea," refers to the land between the Jordan River and the Mediterranean Sea, encompassing both Israel and the Palestinian territories. While Palestinian rights advocates often use it as a call for Palestinian freedom and equality, many supporters of Israel interpret it as a demand for Israel's destruction, given that it implies a single state in place of Israel. Hill's use of this phrase in his UN speech drew immediate and intense criticism from various groups, including the Anti-Defamation League, which called the phrase "code for the destruction of Israel." The controversy quickly escalated, with numerous organizations and individuals calling for CNN to take action. CNN responded swiftly to the backlash, parting ways with Hill the day after his speech. While the network did not explicitly cite the speech as the reason for his termination, the timing and circumstances made the connection clear. CNN's quick action highlighted the network's sensitivity to accusations of bias, particularly on issues related to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. In the aftermath of his firing, Hill defended his comments, stating that he was calling for justice and equality for Palestinians, not the destruction of Israel. He emphasized his support for a two-state solution and argued that his words had been misinterpreted. However, the controversy surrounding his remarks and subsequent firing sparked a broader debate about the limits of free speech for media personalities, the complexities of discussing the Israeli-Palestinian conflict in mainstream media, and the power of certain interest groups to influence media organizations. Hill's case raised important questions about the role of news networks in fostering diverse perspectives on complex international issues. It highlighted the challenges faced by commentators who seek to address controversial topics, particularly those related to geopolitical conflicts with deep historical and emotional resonance. In the years since his departure from CNN, Hill has continued to be an active voice in academia and media, often addressing the very issues of free speech and media representation that his case brought to the forefront. Rick Sanchez.
I think Jon Stewart's a bigot.
Rick Sanchez's firing from CNN in 2010 came after controversial comments made during a radio interview highlighting the risks of off-the-cuff remarks for news personalities. Sanchez had been with CNN since 2004, hosting the 2-hour afternoon show, Rick's List. On September 30th, 2010, Sanchez appeared on Pete Dominic's satellite radio show. During the interview, he called Jon Stewart a bigot and made comments that were interpreted as anti-Semitic. Specifically, Sanchez suggested that Jews control the media, saying, "I'm telling you that everybody who runs CNN is a lot like Stewart, and a lot of people who run all the other networks are a lot like Stewart," and to imply that somehow they, the people in this country who are Jewish, are an oppressed minority? Yeah. CNN fired Sanchez the next day, on October 1st, 2010. The swift action taken by CNN in response to Sanchez's comments served as a cautionary tale about the potential consequences of making controversial statements, even in seemingly casual settings. It also highlighted the heightened scrutiny faced by news personalities and the expectation that they maintain professionalism across all platforms. John Harwood.
Site and politics, a coalition of Republicans not rejecting Donald Trump, but actively campaigning for his defeat.
John Harwood's departure from CNN in September 2022 came amid the network's shift towards more neutral coverage, highlighting the challenges faced by journalists with strong opinions. Harwood joined CNN as a White House correspondent in January 2020, bringing years of experience from CNBC, The New York Times, and The Wall Street Journal. He was known for his critical coverage of former President Donald Trump and the Republican Party, often speaking bluntly about what he saw as threats to democracy. Under new leadership, CNN was moving away from opinion-heavy coverage and towards a more centrist approach. On September 2nd, 2022, Harwood announced on Twitter that it was his last day at CNN. The announcement came shortly after he delivered on-air comments supporting President Joe Biden's criticisms of MAGA Republicans. Harwood's departure raised questions about CNN's new direction and the place for strong opinions in its coverage. It also underscored the network's ongoing efforts to reposition itself in the media landscape, potentially at the cost of losing some of its more outspoken voices. The timing and circumstances of Harwood's exit led to speculation about the extent to which CNN was willing to tolerate political commentary that might be perceived as partisan. Brooke Baldwin.
And before we get going, I want to start with some personal news. I will be leaving CNN in April.
Brooke Baldwin's departure from CNN in April 2021 came after 13 years with the network and sparked discussions about gender equality in media. Baldwin, who had been hosting the afternoon show CNN Newsroom, announced her decision to leave in February 2021. While her exit wasn't a direct firing, it came amid controversy over her comments about the lack of women in leadership positions at CNN. In an interview with Miss Magazine, Baldwin stated that the most influential anchors and highest-paid on-air talent at CNN were men. She also noted the challenges she faced in getting women's stories on air. These remarks drew attention to gender disparities in the news industry and led to speculation about whether they contributed to her departure. Baldwin maintained that leaving was her own decision, driven by a desire to pursue other projects. However, her exit raised questions about CNN's commitment to diversity and gender equality in its upper ranks. Baldwin's case highlighted the ongoing struggles faced by women in broadcast journalism and the potential consequences of speaking out about internal issues at major networks. Lou Dobbs.
Tonight I want to turn to a personal note, if I may, and address a matter that has raised some curiosity. This will be my last broadcast here on CNN, where I've worked for most of the past 30 years and where I have many friends and colleagues whom I admire deeply and respect greatly.
Lou Dobbs, a longtime CNN anchor, left the network in November 2009 after a series of controversies surrounding his coverage of immigration issues and the birther movement questioning President Obama's citizenship. Dobbs had been with CNN since its founding in 1980, except for a brief hiatus in the late 1990s. He hosted Lou Dobbs Tonight, which often focused on economic and political issues. However, Dobbs became increasingly controversial due to his hardline stance on illegal immigration and his promotion of conspiracy theories. His coverage of the birther movement, which falsely claimed that President Obama was not born in the United States, drew particular criticism. CNN faced mounting pressure from advocacy groups to address Dobbs's controversial statements. While CNN maintained that Dobbs's departure was his own decision, many speculated that the network had pushed him out due to the controversies. Dobbs's exit marked a significant shift for CNN as it moved away from opinion-heavy programming in its early evening lineup. The case highlighted the challenges news networks face in balancing provocative personalities with journalistic standards. Donna Brazile.
Developing tonight, growing calls for an investigation at CNN after a high-profile contributor was accused of leaking debate questions to the Clinton campaign not once, but twice, as it turns out.
Donna Brazile, a longtime Democratic strategist and CNN political commentator, parted ways with the network in October 2016 amid controversy over leaked emails. WikiLeaks released emails suggesting that Brazile, who was also serving as interim chair of the Democratic National Committee, had shared questions for CNN-sponsored candidate events with Hillary Clinton's campaign in advance. CNN stated that it had accepted Brazile's resignation on October 14, 2016, after the initial WikiLeaks revelation. Brazile initially denied the allegations, but in a subsequent essay for Time magazine in March 2017, she admitted to sharing potential topics for the events with the Clinton campaign. The incident raised serious questions about journalistic ethics and the impartiality of political commentators, who also hold party positions. It also highlighted the challenges news networks face in managing conflicts of interest with their on-air talent. Brazile's case led to increased scrutiny of the relationships between media figures, political parties, and campaigns. Piers Morgan.
This is the final Piers Morgan Live. After 3 years, 2 months, 11 days, and over 1,000 shows, I'm departing to spend more time with my cricket bat.
Piers Morgan's tenure at CNN ended in September 2014 after 3 years of hosting Piers Morgan Live, which replaced the long-running Larry King Live. Morgan's departure came after a series of controversies and declining ratings. The British journalist had become known for his outspoken views, particularly on gun control, which often put him at odds with American viewers. His confrontational interview style and perceived anti-gun agenda led to petitions calling for his deportation. Morgan's show also struggled in the ratings, consistently underperforming compared to competitors. While CNN framed the end of Piers Morgan Live as a mutual decision, Morgan later admitted that the low ratings played a significant role. He acknowledged that his approach, especially on the gun debate, may have alienated a large portion of the American audience. Morgan's case highlighted the challenges faced by international figures trying to connect with American audiences on controversial topics. It also underscored the importance of ratings in determining the longevity of primetime cable news shows. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think about these high-profile departures from CNN? Do you believe the network is making the right moves in its shift towards more neutral coverage? Or do you think it's losing valuable voices in the process? Share your thoughts in the comments section below.